Russia starts nuclear drills as tensions between the Ukraine and Russia begin to increase to levels that we have not seen and we were probably not anticipating. And it's going to make for an interesting week. So we will talk just a bit about that. Tamara Lich, Chris Barber arrested in Ottawa for being convoy organizers. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that up there. Amazon has removed Black Lives Matter from its charity platform just in time for the midterms, and I think that there's more going on to that. If we have to skip stuff, I will make sure to get to this one today, so we'll talk just a bit about that. And activists rage over vandalism, racist vandalism at a Sacramento high school, and then they find out that the person who made the accusation was the one that did it. It is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We have got a lot that's going on today, and once again, it's another situation where I had to come back and add stuff today because it's insanity what we're seeing coming back up out of this, and the fact that I really still don't buy what's going on with this, but I could see where Russia's going to start practicing. I don't know if nuclear drills, because I haven't read this AP article yet. I haven't done that. I saw Russia practicing nuclear drills. I'm like, okay, we got to talk about that. Plus, it lets me make a Fallout joke. Who doesn't love Fallout jokes? I hope I get ghoulified. I want to spend eternity going around to people and saying, "Hey, smooth skin. Hey, what are you doing over here? Hey, man, I just want to be left alone." And getting healed by radiation, of course. That's what I want to do. But with that, we have got a lot to go over here, so let's get started. Let's get the live chat up so I can see what you guys are saying, and we will figure out what's happening with that, of course. And, well, let's get into it. Let's get started, because we are on a 40-tab day again. Oh, and by the way, if you guys just lurked today, make sure that you get one message in, at least, so I can say thank you and tell your friends to come in. It's live chat day, you guys. I have the names of everybody who chatted throughout the live chat this week. Everybody who's been there, even the detractors, because I know at least one guy out there who was not really pleased with what I was doing here, but even the detractors are on here because you guys make the show special, so I'm going to give you a special thank you at the end of the show, just like I do every Friday, and we'll also go over some of the live chat for today at the end of the show as well, so make sure you guys are sticking around. That's probably going to start, well, with all the stuff that we have up here, that's probably going to start shortly after 9 a.m. Central Time. Adjust your time zones as necessary. But we will see what's going on with that, and let's get started. But before we do, make sure you guys go check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. Turnsofpagesproductions.com will be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. A fundraiser coming. We are going to go get this set up. I know that I'm not going to go out and do anything this weekend because I start to feel a little bit of a sinus infection because the weather cannot make up its mind in my state. So we'll get a video game stream coming up this weekend. We will also get probably a game stream. We'll do some more Fallout 4. Well, we got to play Fallout because we got to practice for what Russia's going to come back and do. So go ahead, we'll check that out and come back for that. But also, go and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com and all the great creators who have agreed to join up. We carry the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, the new upcoming project with Britt and Sean Hickman and the Porch Boys. Go check all of those shows out. They're all great friends to liberty. They're all great friends to freedom. And they're all pretty awesome people. So go and check all of their shows out and go hang out with them. Go hang in their live chat, meet some new people out there, and see what you guys get going on off of that. And it's going to be a really, really good time. But we have got to get into it here. So we're going to start, of course, with the finance here. The Dow had its worst day, I think, of the year so far. Yeah, worst day of the year, says CNBC, which I think I have that article as well here off. But yeah, down 622.24 points throughout the day. Almost 2% down to 34,312.03. And that, I mean, the futures are looking up right now, but especially when they're talking the N-word. No, not that N-word, the other one. When they're talking about nuclear, I cannot imagine that this market is going to hang up like this here, but you know, I'm not a financial expert either, so it's going to be something that we watch and we'll talk about on Monday, of course, but that is what we're going to see off of that. 34,312.03. Bitcoin, which, according to our great and glorious Dr. Jorgensen, is the only way to be free and fair. Brad Palumbo says that too. You notice a lot of the high-end LP people are telling you this? It's the only way to be free and fair from an American society. It's the only way to do this. It's the only way to be libertarian. To which I always say, I mean, if you want some, get it. If you don't, don't. You know what's best for your household? Not a bunch of people who hate the American currency and the American society over on Twitter. But regardless, we will look at that because, as usual, is a great hedge as to seeing what the American economy is going to do, probably usually within the next week or so. The Bitcoin is down to 40,377 US dollars and 60 US cents. That is 160 US dollar and 70 US cent drop, down 0.4%. So it's a modest little drop, but it's a little drop anyway. I mean, that's not a huge, I mean, we're seeing swings of thousands of dollars sometimes with this stuff. But we will see where it goes and what happens with that and how that plays out. Let's look in at the hard metals. Copper is on a downswing. Steel and aluminum are both on the upswing. Looking in at the individual plays, flashing copper has turned upwards. Otherwise, all of your copper plays are in the red. Oh, I take that back. Brass shells are up too. So flashing copper and brass shells are both in the green. Everything else on copper is in the red. Steel is very much in the green right now. Everything on steel is in the green. Aluminum is a little bit more mixed as well. Siding is down, aluminum copper pin, and regular aluminum radiators are both up. Cans are up, sheet aluminum's up, rims are up. Okay, I guess it wasn't as mixed as I thought it was. Looking at the other plays, electric motors with copper are down, ballasts are down, lead is up, batteries are down. Small Ford and Cats are up, but all of the catalytic converters are down right now. Still impressive numbers, don't get me wrong, but they're all down right now. Compressors are up, alternators are down, carbide is up, hard drives are down, power supplies, low-grade boards, PC tower are all down, but motherboards are up. Go recycle that computer if you're not using it right now because the value of that motherboard keeps going up. So that's what we see coming off that. Let's see what IBD has to say for the day. This is from Ed Carson. Dow Jones futures rise on U.S.-Russia meeting, but market rally needs a lot more. Dow futures rose modestly early Friday morning, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures. On news of a high-level U.S.-Russia meeting, the stock market rally sold off Thursday, with the S&P 500 tumbling back below its 200-day line as Russia-Ukraine tensions once again were front and center. Roku reported mixed earnings after the close. Roku plunged overnight. Deere earnings and sales topped early Friday. Ag season's coming, you guys, with DE stock holding around a buy point. Apple and UNP are also showing some strength, but Nvidia sold off following its earnings. Tesla reversed downward amid some negative headlines. Secretary of State and possibly orchestrator of this whole thing, Anthony Blinken, will meet with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov next week, a State Department spokesperson said Thursday night. provided there's no further Russia invasion of Ukraine that raised some hopes for a peaceful resolution to the ongoing Ukraine crisis. Still, a top U.S. official in Europe said Russia probably has some 169,000 to 190,000 personnel near Ukraine, up from about 100,000 as of January 30th. On Thursday, President Brandon warned that the threat is very high, that Russia will likely invade the Ukraine on the next several days. Officials have said Russia is massing additional forces near the Ukraine border, refuting Kremlin claims that it's withdrawing some troops. Russia accused the Ukraine of genocide on Thursday, offering a possible pretext to invasion. Moscow also expelled the number 2 official at the U.S. Embassy from the country. On the futures, Dow futures rose 0.5% versus fair value. On the news of the Blinken-Lavrov meeting, S&P 500 futures were also up a little over 0.5%, and NASDAQ 100 futures gained 0.7%, so just shy of 3/4. Dow futures are off overnight highs. They point to a slim bounce, only recouping a fraction of Thursday's sharp losses. Gold prices nudged lower after a big gain on Thursday. U.S. crude oil prices fell 2%. That reflects slightly less fear over Russia-Ukraine, but also growing prospects of a new Iran nuclear deal that would unleash Iranian oil on global markets. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that's what we see coming off of there. Russia seems to be in the highlight of everything, and we'll be talking about that because that's also going to be the highlight of this show. Let's grab one from CNBC quick and see what they have to say. Stock futures are higher after Dow suffers its worst day of the year, from Yoon Lee. Stock futures moved higher in pre-market trading Friday, following the Dow Jones Industrial Average's worst day of 2022, as investors dumped risk assets amid geopolitical concerns. Futures on the blue chip Dow were up about 150 points, or 0.4%. S&P 500 futures gained 0.5%, and NASDAQ futures edged 0.7% higher. Investors continue to be on edge about the ongoing tensions between Russia and the Ukraine. The Ukrainian government and Russia's state-controlled media on Friday exchanged fresh accusations of ceasefire violations at the border. On Thursday, the Ukraine accused pro-Russia separatists of attacking a village near the border in the U.S. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to the UN and warned that the situation is at a moment of peril. Wall Street suffered a steep sell-off on Thursday, with the Dow falling more than 600 points for its biggest daily drop-off. Since the end of November, the S&P dropped more than 2%, breaking a 2-day winning streak, while the NASDAQ declined 2.9%. Markets tend to overreact to geopolitical events, Credit Suisse's Andrew Garwaith said in a note on Friday. Investors have been grappling with the outlook for the Federal Reserve's policy. St. Louis Fed President James Bullard, who had just called for an aggressive action, warned that inflation could get out of control with rate hikes. Or without rate hikes, rather, I'm sorry. An economic calendar is light on Friday, with existing home sales on tap at 10 a.m. Several Fed officials will speak, including Governors Lael Brainerd and Christopher Waller, and Chicago Fed President Charles Evans, all of whom will appear at the U.S. Monetary Policy Forum in New York. Major averages are on pace for their second negative week in a row. The Dow is down 1.2% week to date, while the S&P and the NASDAQ have followed 0.9% and 0.5% this week respectively. So that's what we see coming off of that. It looks like this is going to be what we're coming back and watching. Let's get into the main news of this, and we'll make the commentary on this, but I mean, we're going to see where the markets go with this and what they do. Let's start today with the Dissociated Press, because I think this is top story. I know we got to talk about shelling and many other things that go along with this, but I really think that this is the top story that we have here. From the Dissociated Press, Russia to stage nuclear drills with Ukraine tensions high. From Vladimir Isachenkov, Uras Karmanow, and Darlene Superville. Russia announced massive nuclear drills while Western leaders grasped Friday for ways to avert a new war in Europe, amid soaring east-west tensions after unusually dire U.S. warnings that Moscow could order an invasion of the Ukraine at any day. Immediate worries focused on the volatile front lines of eastern Ukraine, where an upsurge of recent shelling tore through walls of a kindergarten and basic communications was disrupted. Western officials, focused on an estimated 150,000 Russian troops posted around Ukraine's borders, fear the long-simmering conflict could provide a spark for a broader war. The drumbeat of warnings that a larger conflict could start at any moment continued Friday after U.S. President Brandon warned that Washington saw no signs of a promised Russia withdrawal, but instead saw more troops moving towards the border with the Ukraine. Which is funny because he actually didn't go there. But you know who did go there? We'll talk about that in just a moment. Lloyd Austin touched himself and then said that the U.S. believes Russia could launch an attack anytime, and also said he had seen no sign of the promised Russian pullback. He will hold a call on Friday with Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. Even as Russia claimed to be pulling back troops from an extensive military exercise that had sparked fears of an invasion, the Kremlin sent a reminder to the world that it has one of the world's biggest nuclear arsenals, including by announcing drills of its nuclear forces for the weekend. The muscle flexing overshadowed Russian offers this week of continued diplomacy to defuse the Ukrainian crisis. NATO allies are also flexing their might, beefing up military forces around Eastern Europe, but insist the actions are purely defensive and show unity in the face of Russian threats. The United States announced the $6 billion sale of 250 tanks to Poland, a NATO member that has been occupied or attacked by Russia over past centuries. Announcing the deal, Austin said Russia's military buildup has only reinvigorated NATO instead of cowing it, and Moscow had hoped. Meanwhile, world leaders at the Munich Security Conference warned that Europe's security balance is under threat. Germany's Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock said that the situation is calling into question the basic principles of the European peace order. Moscow has denied any intention of attacking its neighbor, and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov mocked the Western warning of an imminent invasion as fakes that cause a smile in remarks broadcast on Friday. Despite the Russian denials, Washington and its allies are concerned the long-time separatist conflict simmering in eastern Ukraine could provide an excuse for an invasion, although they have not provided details. Of course they haven't. With tensions already at their highest level since the Cold War, the Russian military announced that President Vladimir Putin will monitor a sweeping exercise of the country's nuclear forces Saturday that will involve multiple practice missile launches, a stark reminder of the country's nuclear might amid the showdown with the West. Until the Kremlin insists that it has no plans to invade, it has urged the West to keep Ukraine out of NATO and will roll back alliance forces from Eastern Europe, demands roundly rejected by the Western allies. Biden planned to speak by phone on Friday with transatlantic leaders about the Russian military buildup and continued efforts at deterrence and diplomacy. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken revealed some conclusions of U.S. intelligence in Thursday's speech at the UN Security Council, warning that Russia could create a false pretext for an invasion. With the so-called terrorist bombing inside of Russia, a staged drone strike, a fake or even real attack using chemical weapons, he charged that invasion would open with cyber attacks along with missile strikes and bombs across the Ukraine, describing the entry of Russian troops and their advance on Kiev, a city of nearly 3 million, and other key targets. And when I say false flag, I mean, US-based false flag, but oops, we don't say that out loud. So I ran a poll, and I actually want to go back and look at this real quick. I ran a poll over on Twitter. Let's see if I can go find that quick, because I've been tweeting up a fucking storm lately. Let's see how far down this is. And asking people too, who they think did the shelling today. So let's actually bring that up here right now, because we'll be talking about the shelling next, but also with Blinken yelling his might out here. I feel like this is worthy of saying over here. And also, I don't know why that popped up over here. But the question was very simple, and there are 3 hours left if you guys want to go vote on it here. Who did the shelling in the Ukraine today? And for the first, hour of it, it was very heavily tilted for Russia. I asked if it was Russia, if it was Ukraine, or if it was Blinken and Biden. For about the first hour, Russia held strong on this, 46 votes in there. They were the leading one. And then all of a sudden, all the votes started pouring in for Blinken and Biden, which I kind of figured would happen throughout the day here. I'm pretty sure that that's shelling, honestly, and looks like 70% of the 46 people who voted on this agree with me. That this wasn't Russia or the Ukraine, that U.S. troops went in under the direction of Mr. Blinken and went and shelled a kindergarten to try to pull this war forward. I don't trust this dude. I don't trust this president. I don't trust his Secretary of State. I don't trust Lloyd Austin. I don't trust any of them. They want and desperately need this war. And I've been following the money, because that's what I always tell you, to follow the money. So if you guys want to go vote on that, it's probably 12 posts down in my Twitter feed. If you guys want to go and put your opinion out there, but I'm pretty positive that it was Biden. Let's see here. From The Blaze, false flag, Ukrainian kindergarten hit by military shells as U.S. officials warn Russia invasion is imminent. From Chris Pandolfo. Ooh! Holy shit! For those of you just listening, that's the hole in the wall from the shells in a kindergarten. You can see the brightly colored wallpaper, the flower with the flower plant down here on the wall. Oh, you hate to see it. You really do. A kindergarten was struck by artillery shells in a town in the Ukrainian government-controlled side of the front line of eastern Ukraine Thursday, wounding 3 adult civilians, the Ukrainian military said. In a Facebook post, the Ukrainian Joint Forces operation accused Russian occupation troops of shelling the town of Stanitsia in the Luhansk region, referring to a Russian-backed separatist group that had been causing violence in the area for 8 years. The separatists in turn accused the Ukrainian government of opening fire on the territory 4 times over the past 24 hours, according to Reuters. A spokesman for the Kremlin did not comment directly on Ukraine's allegations, but said there's an ongoing exchange of strikes near the border between the Ukraine and Russia, that the first strike came from the Ukrainian side, the New York Times reported. The New York Times, of course, being a former newspaper. The breach of a tenuous ceasefire agreement in the region was received by Western leaders as a possible false flag operation by Russia to create a pretext to the launch of an invasion of the Ukraine. U.S. Prime Minister Boris Johnson told reporters on Thursday, "The picture is continuing to be very grim." A kindergarten was shelled in what we are taking to be what we now know was a false flag operation designed to discredit the Ukrainians, designed to create a pretext, a spurious provocation for Russian action, Johnson said. "We fear very much that this is the thing that we will see more over the next few days," he added. American officials have likewise warned that evidence on the ground suggests a Russian invasion of Ukraine is imminent. Just like it was in 2014, by the way. Well, we have reason to believe that they're engaged in a false flag operation to have an excuse to go in. Come on, man, President Biden told reporters on Thursday. Every indication we have is that they're prepared to go to Ukraine and attack Ukraine, man. Come on. As long as they stay away from Burisma. Mr. President, Hunter's not there anymore. Oh! Okay, go get Burisma too, man. Come on. Moscow has repeatedly denied having plans to invade Ukraine, and earlier this week claimed the troops deployed along the border had completed military exercises there and were returning to base. But the United States and NATO allies have said that there was no evidence to support Russia's claims. Satellite images reported by Axios show a military pontoon bridge has been established over the Pripyat River in Belarus, less than 4 miles from the Ukrainian border. Moscow has actually increased troop presence on the border, but as many as 7,000 troops, according to the senior administration official. Lloyd Austin said the reports of the shelling were troubling. We've said for some time that Russia might do something like this in order to justify military conflict. So we'll be watching this very closely, he said, speaking from Brussels. Hold up. Hold up. Back up. Russia is going to shell out a Ukrainian-controlled area, including a kindergarten, to justify their invasion. Lloyd, you might want to reword that, because it sounds to me like you're trying to get something to happen over here. If I'm being completely honest with you. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba blamed Russia for a severe violation of the ceasefire agreement, and President Volodymyr Zelensky called it a provocative shelling. So, I mean, this. And honestly, story time here for just a second before we get into everything else. I mean, this is not something. Again, this is not something I believe. I do believe that this is something that's going to hopefully not benefit, but this is something that the advisors in the Brandon administration believe is going to benefit them, because we've got to re-elect the wartime party. So I believe that they might be behind this, but I mean, it's not the fact that this isn't something that's unprecedented either. I mean, this has been brewing for a long time. This has been brewing for so long, back when I was in regular college before I went to trade school. A couple of my roommates, and they put them in the same room for whatever reason. We lived in one of the university apartments that was basically a 4-bedroom apartment that was set up to house 7 people. 3 sets of roommates, and one, I can't think of the name of it. One person room. It was set up to go with that, but 2 of the roommates that were there, they for whatever reason roomed together. One of them was Russian and the other one was Ukrainian. And I even remember the Russian guy was picking at the Ukrainian guy, and he'd speak Russian to the Ukrainian guy, even though, well, the guy that was Ukrainian, he did speak both languages, but it was a little bit of a tease to it, because of the fact that, you know, our country is going to take over your country, and you're going to have to learn it again anyway. So this has been going on for a long time, observably from me, because this was in 2005. But what we see off of this, and then we see the thing that goes on with the Crimean Peninsula too. We also remember the fact we had so many ties with the current president in the Ukraine through his family, but we don't talk about that anymore. The Hunter Biden laptop, you know. We don't talk about that anymore. I don't trust a word of this, especially what's coming out of the White House. It's just too perfect that it was the Ukraine and Russia. But we'll see what happens with that. Let's grab one from CNBC. Fresh ceasefire violations reported in Ukraine as Blinken warns of moment of peril. From Chloe Taylor. The Ukrainian government and Russia state-controlled media on Friday exchanged fresh accusations of ceasefire violations excuse me, near the country's eastern border. In a statement on Facebook, Ukrainian Joint Forces Operations said 20 ceasefire violations have been recorded in eastern Ukraine on Friday as of 9 a.m. local time. The JFO alleged that 15 of these violations included the use of weapons prohibited by the Minsk agreements, which Russia, Ukraine, and pro-Moscow separatists signed in 2014 and 2015 to prevent a war in eastern Ukraine. No fatalities were reported. Ukraine also claimed that separatist forces were placing their artillery systems near residential buildings. The JFO added, United forces control the situation and respond appropriately to potential threats from the enemy. Meanwhile, Russia's state-controlled media agency, RIA, claimed on Friday that Ukrainian government forces had launched 3 shelling strikes against Russian-backed separatists. CNBC was unable to verify either report. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe on Thursday said its mission in the Ukraine had reported almost 600 ceasefire violations. in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, substantially higher than the 153 violations reported during the previous period. The east of Ukraine, near the Russian border, has long been the scene of low-level fighting. The OSCE regularly reported violations of the ceasefire in eastern Ukraine during the 8-year conflict, in which around 13,000 people have died. Russian officials reportedly circulated a document at the UN Security Council meeting on Thursday, which Reuters reported made the allegations that war crimes have been committed in Ukraine and accused the Ukrainian government of exterminating the civilian population in the country's east. A U.S. official dubbed those accusations categorically false, according to Reuters. It came after the Ukrainian government and Russia's state media made contradictory accusations about shelling strikes on Thursday, with a school and a kindergarten in eastern Ukraine being hit by the attacks. The U.S. had warned that Russia could use false assertions, including claims about the conflict in Eastern Europe, as a pretext for an invasion. Moscow has repeatedly denied it intends to invade the Ukraine and has claimed this week that its soldiers have begun to withdraw from their temporary posts at the border. However, Western officials have cast doubt on those assertions, saying the intelligence in fact suggests more troops have joined those already at the border in recent days. Michael Carpenter, a U.S. ambassador to the OSCE, said on Friday that the U.S. estimated Russia has amassed between 169,000 and 190,000 military personnel near Ukraine, up from 100,000 on January 30th. We are aware that Russia is intent on creating a pretext to justify an invasion into Ukraine, Carpenter told OSCE's Forum for Security Cooperation in Vienna. So, there's a lot of stuff moving here. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm not sure where this goes and where this ends. But we will see what happens with that and where we see it come from and where it goes. So continue to watch this and see what happens with it. Let's grab another one from the Associated Press. Satellite photos give a bird's eye view of Ukrainian crisis. So they've given us some photos here of what's happening and where this goes. Looks like we've got a nice slideshow here, so let's have a look at this. Satellite image provided by Maxar Technology shows attack helicopters deployed at Zyabrovka airfield in Belarus. Road construction and a new pontoon bridge over the Pripyat River in Belarus. Military equipment positioned in the convoy at Lake Don Ozlov in Crimea. It's kind of interesting the way they actually have that set up here. Go away, advertisement. That shows an area where troops and equipment departed from Zyabrovka airfield in Belarus. And eerily enough, if this actually does happen, the way the State Department tells us it is, I mean, we've looked at the map a few times. We'll probably do it again in just a second here. But, I mean, Belarus is probably going to be where it launches. It's not going to be about the Donetsk region. It's not going to be about the Lushenko region. It's going to be about going into Kiev, if they're doing it the way that our federal government tells us that they're going to do it, because, I mean, it's right there. Let's get the old map up here and let's look at that again. Yeah, they're up in Belarus, they're doing military bridges, but I mean, setting up here, here, and here gives you a straight shot down the river right into Kiev, the capital. And they keep telling you that this is all about this area right here, Donetsk and Luhansk. And Donbass, which is, I believe, up here yet too. They're focusing on what's happening here, and I mean, the AP is focusing on what's happening up here. So we'll see what happens there. Let's watch or look at the rest of these photos here. Satellite images show a military convoy headed westbound at Rechista in Belarus. There they go. Stepping west. This February 16th, 2022 satellite image provided by Maxar shows a largely empty military deployment areas at Rechista in Belarus. Shows a view of artillery and equipment positioned at nearby Brest rail yard. View of troops and equipment remain in Bretsky training area in Belarus. An overview of road construction and a new pontoon bridge over the Pripyat River. And this is the same one we saw earlier, just a little bit more zoomed out. So that's what our imaging looks like. Let's grab one. I think the funniest thing that came out of this. Let's start with this tweet here from the Vice President of the United States and also the border czar in our country. Vice President Kamala Harris says, "I'm in Munich, Germany, to lead the U.S. delegation at the Munich Security Conference. Tomorrow, I will join our other world leaders to underscore our commitments and our allies and partners and demonstrate our unity in the face of Russian aggression on Ukraine's borders." I quote tweeted this, of course, telling her, "You'll visit any border but ours. Apparently. You'll go help out on the crisis on any border except for the U.S. border, the specific one you were charged to deal with." And also, I offered her some advice in a reply rather than a quote tweet, and said, hey, all you have to do is tell Zelensky and the Ukrainian people that there is no crisis at the border, and never, ever, ever visit it. Just tell them that there's no crisis there. Perhaps do a photo op in a government facility 10 miles from the border in a politically safe area, but never actually see the border itself. That's how you fix a border crisis, right there. And our vice president would know. From the New York Post. Kamala Harris flies to Europe to help secure Ukrainian border as Biden stays behind. Yeah, she went. Biden stayed behind, and she's trying to secure that border, not this one. Vice President Harris set off Thursday on a peace mission to Europe as Russia appeared to accelerate preparations for an invasion of Ukraine, undeterred by her failure to resolve the ongoing U.S.-Mexico border crisis as President Brandon's point person on illegal immigration. About 2 hours after Harris departed D.C. to attend the Munich Security Conference, Biden emerged from the White House and said he believes Russian President Vladimir Putin will launch an invasion of Ukraine within the next several days. As Harris flew east to Germany, Biden traveled west to Lorain, Ohio to talk about fixing Great Lakes pollution through his 3-month-old bipartisan infrastructure law, prompting his aides to insist that John wouldn't distract him from the potential outbreak of the largest and deadliest conflict in Europe since World War II. Really? The Crimean Peninsula, perhaps? I doubt Putin's sitting back at the Kremlin right now, shaking because Kamala Harris is over there, Rep. Tim Burchett of Tennessee, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, said in an interview with Newsmax TV on Wednesday. She couldn't pour something out of a boot if there were instructions written on the heel, Burchett added. She can't even find our southern border, much less the Ukrainian border. This is a joke. This is a travesty. Biden tapped Harris last March to stem illegal immigration across the southern border, but the crisis only got worse, with a record-breaking 1.9 million arrests in 2021. Critics blamed the lax Biden enforcement policies, but Harris defended her work last month in Honduras, saying addressing the root cause of illegal immigration wouldn't have an effect overnight. Really, because changing the administration had an effect overnight, negatively. Biden came into the White House after saying that he wasn't going to put kids in cages and he wasn't going to arrest people at the border, and millions more people came. All right, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, let's keep going with this here. Biden is deploying Kamala Harris to Europe to help ease Russia-Ukraine tensions. Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee tweeted last week, adding sarcastically, "Right, because she's doing so well with our southern border." So there we have military-style pontoon bridge spotted over the Pripyat River. There's the region in question. There's the presumed location of Russian forces. Lauren Boebert of Colorado tweeted a video clip of the fictional boss, Michael Scott, from The Office shouting, "No! God! Please! No! No! No!" to suggest Ukraine's probable reaction to Harris repping the U.S. in Munich. Other social media users were more supportive. "Safe travels and give them hell, MVP," one person tweeted. And that person was a simp. After arriving in Europe, Harris will meet with the leaders of 3 Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, on Friday before delivering a set-piece speech on Saturday about the Ukraine crisis. But hey, never visiting the border. Harris will also meet with Volodymyr Zelensky and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. So there she is. She's going to go get up and solve the border crisis over there before she solves it here. So we will see what happens with that. From the Associated Press. This is going to turn a few heads. U.S. Senate approves resolution for Ukraine, warning Russia. From Lisa Mascaro. The U.S. Senate voted overwhelmingly Thursday to show unwavering support for an independent Ukraine and condemn Russian military aggression toward its neighbor as fresh fears emerged of a possible invasion that could spiral towards a European war. Action in the Senate came after President Brandon said the U.S. has every indication of a potential Russian attack on Ukraine in a matter of days. U.S. officials have outlined stark scenarios of President Putin's potential plans as Russian troops remain amassed at the Ukrainian border. The resolution from the senators does not carry the force of law, but puts the U.S. legislative body on record with unwavering U.S. support for a secure, democratic, and independent Ukraine, and denounces Russian military buildup on Ukraine's border. The vote was unanimous, without objection or the formal roll call. This Congress is united in its support of Ukrainian independence and sovereignty, said Senator Portman of Ohio on introducing the measure with the Democratic Senator Jeanine Shaheen of New Hampshire, and others. Senators have been racing all week to mount a response to rising tensions in the region, many eager to go even further by imposing devastating sanctions on Putin that would send shockwaves through the Russian economy. Ukraine has strong allies in the Senate, where there is broad support for sanctions on Russia as a powerful foreign policy tool to be used if Putin furthers his aggression. Amid high-stakes diplomatic efforts to pull Russia off any plans to invade, senators hold back legislation sanctioning Russia, deferring to the White House's own strategy for easing out of that crisis that could spread across Europe. The resolution Thursday encourages Biden to have the U.S. government exhaust its tools available to impose significant costs on Russia and restore peace in Europe. The final text of the resolution was not to be construed as an authorization for use of military force against Russia or for the introduction of U.S. armed forces in the Ukraine. And yet, that's probably what's going to happen. As soon as I saw this, I knew. As soon as I saw that it was unanimous, too, by the way, I knew. This is going to be military. This is going to become militarized at some point here, and we are going to see boots on the ground at some point. Because the Senate and the warhawks in the Senate all gave unanimous support to the Ukraine, which means they're going to give unanimous support to come back out and defend them. So, if something does happen, and again, I don't believe that it actually will, but if something does happen to come out and happen, they have the full support to go put the military out there for it. I hope you guys are ready. What else do we have here? Shift gears here, let's talk about what the president did instead of going over there. President Biden tweets out, I'm in Ohio today to discuss how the bipartisan infrastructure law will deliver for the American people. We're announcing $1 billion investment through the law to accelerate the restoration and cleanup of the Great Lakes, securing clean water for millions of Americans. And Democracy Dies in Hong Kong says, and generating even more inflation as more cash is pumped into the economy, and usually not into the actual Great Lakes, but into somebody who is on the take for whatever pork barrel spending came out of this bill. I know, life's good. Inflation, it will deliver worse inflation. And Huawei says, inflation is a worldwide issue currently. So stop accelerating it. But, and realistically, and I don't know if the actual project is going to cost this much or not, but realistically, this would actually be, the Great Lakes, that would be an actual project of the federal government. That is actually something that would be within their purview. A lot of the other stuff that they're planning on doing isn't. It's just pumping out cash into systems that do fall under or that do have the purview to do that in their own individuals. But the Great Lakes, those are interstate lakes and actually international at some point too. So that does fall onto that purview. But I mean, still, where are we getting this $1 billion from? I don't know, but we'll see. Let's read from The Hill. Biden touts infrastructure law with vulnerable Democrat in Ohio. From Morgan Chalfant. President Biden appeared alongside vulnerable House Democrat in Ohio on Thursday to promote the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure law as a $1 billion investment to restore the Great Lakes that the law funds. Biden traveled to Lorain, Ohio, and delivered a speech focused on the Great Lakes Initiative and the broader infrastructure law, saying it would bring jobs to Ohio while also fixing the highways, removing lead pipes, and expanding access to broadband. It's going to be the most significant restoration of the Great Lakes in the history of the Great Lakes, man. Come on. We're rebuilding America. Biden quoted novelist Toni Morrison, a native of Lorain, during his speech where he promised, so he pandered, more prosperous days for the community ahead. Places like Lorain have had a lot of proud yesterdays, and now they're going to have some brighter tomorrows, he said, echoing a famous quote from Morrison's novel Beloved. Biden was joined by Rep. Marcy Kaptur of Ohio, who represents Ohio's 9th Congressional District, and is expected to face a difficult re-election later this year due to redistricting. Biden's low polling numbers have raised questions about whether more vulnerable Democrats will keep their distance from the president headed into the November midterm elections. However, his bond with Couture, who greeted Biden when he landed in Cleveland, was on full display. Introducing Biden, Couture recognized him as the first sitting president to visit Lorraine and argued that he's done the most for the region out of the 6 presidents she has witnessed as a member of Congress. I can honestly say, that's not Biden. I can honestly say, President Biden, you have done more good works to benefit this region already and into the future with the passage of the Rescue and Infrastructure and Jobs Act than any other president whom I've walked alongside as a member of Congress, Couture said. Have you walked alongside a lot of presidents as a member of Congress, Couture? The burdens you bear are extremely heavy, she added. Russia stands at Ukraine's border and we pray for peace. We know that we have an idea of what you are doing in working with our allies to make that possible. So that's what they're coming out to try to tout right now. They're talking, and I mean, Couture probably said the quiet part out loud. She wasn't supposed to come back out and say this. Well, hey, we've got something going on in Europe, but hey, you took the time to be here in Lorraine, Ohio. Good job. Thank you. Got one from the Daily Wire. No one thinks he's joking. Biden jokes during his Ohio speech that he goes home to Delaware every chance he gets. We know. Biden joked Thursday that he goes home to Delaware every chance he gets, taking the stage at a campaign-style event to promote the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure law and its $1 billion into the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. Biden joked with attendees that he takes every opportunity to visit his home state. Before I begin, I want to just point out that I was just sitting and talking with Marcia Fudge, a former Ohio Congresswoman and current director of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And she said something that reminded me of what I miss is all. She said, it's good to be home in Ohio. No, I really mean it. And I said, you're probably the only one who understands that every time I get a chance, I go home to Delaware. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. No, nobody thinks you're joking. Every time something difficult comes past the White House, every time the coronavirus numbers got better, every time you get a new inflation number, you go home to Delaware. I represented Delaware for 36 years as a U.S. Senator, and just like most congressional districts, the good news is the bad news, and everyone knows you. Biden added, leaning into his microphone at the podium. A clip of the moment was shared to Twitter by Chad Gilmartin, former principal assistant, press secretary, and special assistant to former President Trump. The response from conservatives was unified. No one thinks he's joking, the Daily Wire's Ash Shao tweeted in response. Let's listen. Let's have some volume, shall we?
You're probably the only one here that understands that every time I get a chance, I go home to Delaware. You think I'm joking? I'm not. I represented Delaware for 36 years as United States Senator. You're probably the only one here that understands that every time I...
Yeah, like they said, nobody thinks you're joking. Everybody knows that every time something hard happens, you're back to Delaware. All right. From the New York Post. Little thing going on in Europe. Oh, we got video of this too. So let's back that up. Well, let's just start, as long as we've got the volume muted on the music, let's just start by listening.
Bless you all. May God protect our troops. And the reason they tell me I've got to head out, I hadn't planned on going immediately, is because of weather going back to Washington. And there's a little thing going...
Oh, it froze. Oh, it won't load here. Oh, darn. There's weather going into Washington, and I got a little thing going on in Europe. God bless our troops, man, for what I'm putting them through. President Biden flew to Ohio on Thursday after saying the Ukraine is on the brink of an invasion by Russian forces to push his already passed infrastructure plan. But Biden cut short the visit, claiming his staff was worried about poor weather and due to having a little thing going on in Europe. The House Plan Chief's trip to Lake Erie shoreline focused on his 3-month-old infrastructure law's impact on the pollution of the Great Lakes and drew questions about whether he was distracted from his major role in deterring a war in Europe. The reason they tell me I gotta head out, I hadn't planned on going immediately, is because the weather going back to Washington, there's a little thing going on in Europe right now, Biden said after speaking for 20 minutes in Lorain, Ohio. Biden didn't shorten the trip by much. He was scheduled to depart Cleveland by 1:45 p.m. and Air Force One lifted off at 3 p.m., meaning he left Ohio about 12 minutes earlier than planned. Biden visited Ohio as VP Kamala Harris flew to Europe on Thursday to attend the Munich Security Conference, where she will meet over the weekend with Volodymyr Zelensky and the leaders of the NATO member countries. So there you go. I got a little thing I got to go attend to. Let's grab one from the Daily Wire. Biden tells a strange story about leaving a dead dog on a woman's porch. So this was not from yesterday's speech. This was from the day before. I'd actually run out of time yesterday to come back and do this, but this is from Virginia Kruta. President Biden made headlines on Tuesday when he told a story about intentionally leaving a dead dog on a woman's front doorstep. Let's listen.
I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, "There's a dead dog on my lawn." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Have you called the county?" He said, "Yes, they're not here." And I said, "Well, I'll get him in the morning." She said, "I want it removed now. I pay your salary." So I went over. I picked it up. She said, "I want it out of my front yard." I put it on her doorstep. But I've gotten much better since then.
What? Why are people laughing about that? Like, listen to listen to the laugh track on this, which, I mean, it's so ill-timed. Excuse me. Like, there's not a punchline anywhere for him to use this for.
I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, "There's a dead dog on my lawn." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Have you called the county?" He said, "Yes, they're not here." And I said, "Well, I'll get him in the morning." She said, "I want it removed now. I pay your salary." So I went over. I picked it up. She said, "I want it out of my front yard." I put it, and I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Have you called the county?" He said, "Yes, they're not here." And I said, "Well, I'll get him."
And you hear some of the laughter right in there. Oh, they're not here. Oh, he's going to say something funny, I bet.
In the morning, she said, "I want it removed now. I pay your salary."
She pays his salary.
So I went over. I picked it up. She said, "I want it."
Like what has he said that's been funny so far? To get that kind of laughter.
Out of my front yard. I put it on her doorstep. But I've got.
Oh, he's so funny. He's so precious. Oh, Grandpa, thank you for the joke. We love that so much. Well, that's the president. Most popular president in history. All right, let's talk about the former president. Donald Trump, Ivanka, and Don Jr. must testify in Letitia James's probe, judge says, from Priscilla DeGregory. Trump and his kids, Ivanka and Don Jr., must testify in New York Attorney General Letitia James' investigation into the Trump Organization's business dealings, a Manhattan judge ruled on Thursday. The Trump trio has been fighting to quash the subpoenas for their sworn testimony, arguing that James's office is targeting the former president for selective persecution for political reasons and to bolster her career. It's not even exactly prosecution. Trump camp says the AG's office will use the depositions from family members to aid a parallel criminal investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office in conjunction with the AG's office, rather than calling the family members before a grand jury, which would give them immunity from civil claims involving the same facts. But Manhattan Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron denied the motions to quash the subpoenas in a Thursday afternoon and said the three Trump family members must appear for depositions within 21 days. In the final analysis, the state AG commences investigating a business entity, uncovers copious evidence of possible financial fraud, and wants to question under oath several of the entity's principals, including its namesake. Engoron's decision reads, "She has the clear right to do so." Earlier in the day, the parties appeared virtually for arguments over the subpoenas. "Let's say your clients are compelled to appear for deposition," Engoron asked the lawyers for the Trumps. Can't they refuse to answer? "Isn't that what Eric Trump did 500 times? Why can't your clients protect themselves by refusing to answer questions?" Engoron said, referring to Eric Trump having already been deposed in the case. But lawyers for the Trumps responded that the judge or jury could then draw an adverse inference at the trial against them for choosing not to answer questions. You know, like Twitter did with Eric Trump. Ron Fischetti, a criminal defense lawyer for Donald Trump, responded, "If he takes the fifth, how am I going to pick a jury if it's all over town? You can't put your civil hat on and then put your criminal district attorney hat on when it suits you," Trump's civil lawyer Alina Habba said. There you go. "The civil and criminal actions involve the same subject material," Habba said. "You're putting my client in a position where they disclose evidence in a civil investigation, or they have to invoke their rights and have an adverse inference. How is that fair, Your Honor?" Habba also claimed that James has been selectively prosecuting Donald Trump and brought up statements that she made during her election campaign about how she planned to investigate and prosecute the 45th president. "For someone who has such a vile disdain for the man, she has used his name to become an attorney general," Habba said, arguing that James's conduct is improper. Yeah, actually, honestly, just on the fact that she actually campaigned that she was going to investigate and prosecute the 45th president, she should be forced to recuse herself from this because she is doing this for political gain. She's not doing this for any major outcome off this. She is doing this because she's exhausting every tool to fulfill a campaign promise. This is personal to her, or it seems as personal. Now, if they want to go back and do an investigation, okay, do it. File your little civil suit. And then turn around and use it for your criminal probe. But Letitia James should be recused from this. She shouldn't be involved in any of this. That's the motion the lawyers need to come back out and do. Recuse Letitia James. Kevin Wallace, a lawyer with the AG's office, called Trump a recidivist in arguing that James didn't target him for political reasons, but rather because she had a good cause, given the prior AGs had cases against Trump University and the Trump Foundation going back to 2013. But both of those are bankrupted. Both of those are gone. There is no Trump University. There's no Trump Foundation. They had cases. The cases were taken care of. His decision, Engoron said that he had reviewed thousands of documents in the case which demonstrated that the Office of the AG has sufficient basis for continuing its investigation, which undercuts the notion that this is ongoing, based on personal animus, not facts and law. Engoron's ruling added that for James did not have to have commenced the probe and not to have issued the subpoenas would have been a blatant dereliction of duty and would have broken an oft-repeated campaign promise. The decision added that James's probe was not based on any personal animus on her part. During the hearing earlier, Engoron also pointed out the 800-pound gorilla in the room, whether Trump should get special treatment as a former president. I'm basically trying not to do anything differently. He's a citizen. He's a respondent, the judge said. But there again, you have an AG who literally ran on the fact that she was going to persecute the president, that she was going to investigate and persecute. Now, as far as this goes, again, this is a civil suit, but for them to come out and do the testimony for the civil suit without going in a criminal case and then having everything back on record for the criminal case, you don't think that's going to make its way in front of a jury? Even as taintable evidence. Oh, this evidence can't be admitted. The jury will disregard. Well, it's already out there. This is a mess, and this is going on. This is a political persecution. I can't think of any way to come back out and put this. Let's grab one from Insider. A judge ruled that Trump must sit for a deposition in New York AG Tish James's investigation. We might skip this one. Oh no, because this is some of her stuff here. A Manhattan judge on Thursday ruled that former President Trump must sit for a deposition and provide personal business documents in New York Attorney General AG's civil probe into alleged financial wrongdoings at the Trump Organization. Two of the former president's adult children, Ivanka and Don Jr., must also comply with subpoenas. Today, justice prevailed, James said in a statement. Why is justice how? And this is the part that I look at this and I say, this is why you need to be recused. Because A, you think a civil suit is justice, first and foremost, and B, we know by the fact that you're saying justice prevailed that you're going on a fishing expedition to go get stuff for your criminal case, because with the rights that are afforded to the accused, you have absolutely fucking nothing. I'm pretty positive you have nothing anyway, but you have nothing. And you're using a workaround to go to try to fish for something, anything. But we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. Alright, a little bit of a white pill for you. This is happening in Ottawa. The post-millennial tweets, amid a heavy police presence, a bouncy castle is being set up at the freedom protest in Ottawa. Look at all those cops. Like, hey, we're gonna start arresting you if you stay around here too much longer. Okay, well, let us play with our bouncy castle first. That is so fucking based. That is based beyond based. Alright, but unfortunately we have to turn our news a little bit darker on this topic. Let's start with this one here from CBC News. Convoy protest organizers Tamara Lich and Chris Barber are arrested in Ottawa. From Sarah Frizzell, Shamini Yogaretnam from CBC News. Two key organizers in the so-called Freedom Convoy. Gotta love that they have that editorial in there. The so-called Freedom Convoy, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, have been arrested in Ottawa, CBC News has learned. Lich was arrested Thursday evening and Barber earlier in the day by Ottawa police. Both remain in police custody and are expected to be charged criminally, according to sources. The two have been described as key leaders in the protests in Ottawa, which has now hit the 3-week mark. Their arrests were among several made Thursday. Barber was seen a few blocks from Parliament Hill in handcuffs between two police officers. Lich confirmed to the Canadian press earlier Thursday that she was there when Barber, a trucker from Saskatchewan, was arrested and led away. Lich said she was resigned to the fact that she was going to jail, adding that her personal bank account had been frozen. There are two of the 3 protest organizers named in a proposed class action suit filed with the Ontario Superior Court of Justice by lawyer Paul Champ on behalf of his client, 21-year-old public servant Zexi Lee. The suit also names fellow convoy organizer Benjamin Dichter. Earlier this month, Barber responded to criticism that the protest was negatively affecting Ottawa residents by saying organizers had empathy for local residents. We understand your frustration and genuinely wish there was another way for us to get our message across, but the responsibility for your inconvenience lies squarely on the shoulders of politicians who have preferred to vilify us and call us names rather than engage in respectful, serious dialogue, he said at the time. When asked about Barber's arrest, Ottawa police said they do not conform or deny investigations about which people until charges are laid. Apparently, this is at least one of them being arrested. And apparently that's all we get, is a second video. Never mind. So, what charges do they have? That's what I want to know. What are they being charged with? They have a peaceful protest. There have been a couple skirmishes here and there, but those people should be charged individually on their own, not as part of a larger group. But it's, they've frozen the bank accounts of these two people. They've come back out here. It's probably going to be a conspiracy to something, but I don't know what. Conspiracy to what? That's the question I have. What are they going to pop these people for? They're going to find something for them. I know that, because that's what they do. But we'll see what happens with that. From the Ottawa Citizen. Truck Convoy Day 21. Police established a secure area from Queensway to Parliament. 2 protest organizers arrested near Parliament Hill. From Staff Reporter. The Freedom Convoy that converged in Ottawa on January 28th began in response to the federal government's move to require Canadian truckers crossing the U.S. border to be fully vaccinated to avoid testing and quarantine requirements, but it has evolved into a protest of all public health measures aimed at fighting the pandemic. Organizers say they will not end their protests until all measures are dropped. Another person arrested. What you need to know. Police chief candidate withdraws his services. City releases list of further action approved by the council. Organizers Tamara Lich, Chris Barber arrested, reports say. Mayor to issue formal apology to Ottawa residents for failure to provide safety and security. Police presence increases in red zone. Police handed out notices, issued repeated warnings in downtown occupiers that they continue to block streets. They're committing a criminal offense and face arrest. Interim Police Chief Steve Bell vows to take back the entirety of the downtown core and every occupied space. Council Diane Keynes is turfed from chairing the Ottawa Police Services Board at chaotic council meeting Wednesday evening. Residents still advised to avoid non-essential travel in the downtown core as transit and traffic disruptions closures continue. U Ottawa moves classes online. So this looks like this is a live update blog is what it is. But they have also, yep, here we go. Mushu Ice Cream on Bank Street near Flora Street said on Twitter it will be closed this weekend following work by police to secure the downtown area and shut down Highway 417 ramps. Mushu is one of many area businesses impacted by the protest. Almost 2 weeks ago, one of its staff members was said to have been physically assaulted on their way to work. According to a tweet, the employee was blocked on the sidewalk by 2 men and pushed to the ground for wearing a mask. Good, arrest the both of those fuckers. Get those 2 jackoffs off the street. Except they can't do that because they're probably government paid. But there is a perimeter now, so officially there's a perimeter around the area. Let's see what else we have for this. CTV tells us, what do you need to know about the secured area in downtown Ottawa? From Josh Pringle. Yep, looks like they've set up temporary fencing around the area. Let's see what's going on here, because it looks like there's video. Let's see if this one works. So this is allegedly live, what's actually happening right now. which they've got the secured zone. It looks like they've got the tower up there. I'm not sure what they're doing with this, but they've secured it off. I don't know if they're trying to imprison the people in or trying to keep other people from entering and joining the protest, but that's what they say coming off of that. Ottawa police are establishing a secure zone around downtown Ottawa as part of an increased police presence to deal with the Freedom Convoy demonstrations. Steve Bell announced a new secured area is being established around an area from Bronson Avenue to the Rideau Canal and Queensway to Parliament Hill. The secured area includes almost 100 checkpoints that will have police presence to ensure that those seeking entry to that secure area for an unlawful reason, such as joining a protest, cannot enter the downtown core, Bell said. They will be in places only as long as necessary to remove the unlawful protests. Ottawa police say almost 100 checkpoints will be set up in an area from Bronson Avenue to the Rideau Canal and Highway 417 to Parliament Hill, Wellington Street. It's a 3 square kilometer area around downtown Ottawa. Ottawa police say residents living and working in the downtown core will be permitted to enter the secured area. We want to reassure everyone that if you live, work, or have a lawful reason to be in the area, there will be minimal impacts on your access, Bell said. Once through the checkpoints, those with a lawful reason to be free to move about. So, yeah, they're breaking it down. They're doing whatever they can to try to make this all break. But I guess once again, I mean, we see these little fences versus a 17,000-pound rig with 1,500 foot-pounds of torque. And I don't advise there being any sort of violence by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're being penned in to try to be easier taken down by a military, if a military presence does come up, or a SWAT team or something else like that, do what you have to do to protect yourself as well. But no, do not assault anybody. Do not throw the first punch. Let the government throw the first punch always. But we'll see what happens with that. Let's grab one from PBS NewsHour. How American right-wing funding for Canadian trucker protests could sway U.S. politics. No author given. The Canadians who have disrupted travel and trade with the U.S. and occupied downtown Ottawa for nearly 3 weeks have been cheered and funded by American right-wing activists and conservative politicians who also oppose vaccine mandates and the country's liberal leader. Yet whatever impact the protests have on Canadian society and the government of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, experts say the outside support is really aimed at energizing conservative politics. In the U.S. midterms, elections are still looming, and some Republicans think standing with the protesters up north will galvanize fundraising and voter turnout at home. These experts say it kind of will. The kinds of narratives that the truckers and the trucker convoy are focusing on are going to be really important issues for the U.S. elections coming ahead, said Sam Bradshaw, a postdoc fellow at the Civil Society Lab at Stanford. And so using this protest as an opportunity to galvanize their own supporters and other groups, I think it's very much an opportunity for them. Police poured into downtown Ottawa on Thursday and work crews erected fences around Parliament, in which protesters feared was a prelude to a crackdown. About 44% of the nearly $10 million in contributions to support the protesters originated from the U.S. According to an Associated Press analysis of leaked donor files, U.S. Republican elected officials, including Ted Cruz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a plant, have praised the protesters, calling them heroes and patriots. Fox News host Sean Hannity told two protest organizers in a show on Wednesday that you can have a lot of support from your friends in America. That I can tell you, he added. We have a movement in America that's starting very soon. Trudeau and other senior Canadian officials have been sharply critical of the financial support coming in from other countries. What this country is facing is a largely foreign-funded, targeted, and coordinated attack on critical infrastructure and our democratic institutions, Bill Blair, Canadian's Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness, said earlier this week. So, and that's what they're going to do. And of course, because it's PBS, that's exactly what they're going to do. All this is going to do is bolster the evil right-wingers, those Trump people down in the U.S., so... without a lot of explanation as to why this is going to do so, especially at the top of the article where people should be reading and getting afraid. But we'll see what happens with that. Let's grab one from the Post-Millennial. Freedom protesters warned that they may be separated from their children as police action looms. The Children's Aid Society said they will work to reunite families in the event that the parents and children are separated, following police efforts ending the demonstrations in the downtown core. This is from Roberto Wacarella Cruz. The Children's Aid Society of Ottawa is urging demonstrators to make necessary alternate care arrangements. In a statement released Wednesday, the society said the parents who are attending the demonstration at the city's downtown core should make the necessary alternate care arrangements should they become unable to care for their children following potential police action. CSO has a mandate to protect a child when their parent becomes unavailable to exercise their custodial right over the child and the parents had not made adequate provisions for the child's care and custody, the statement continues. The statement says that the society will work to reunite families in that scenario if the parents and children are separated following police efforts in ending the demonstrations in the downtown core. Ottawa authorities have previously said they're having difficult times ending the trucker protest because minors were present. I would say you probably shouldn't do that and have the kids around. You should probably keep the fucking kids out of there. But it looks like the government's getting ready to go back in and do that by force. And they're telling the people downtown, get your kids out of here. I thought this was going to be a southern border reference when they said this, but no. They're coming in there and saying, we will come in, we will go down there, and we will take your kids before we tear gas the fuck out of you. The government's getting ready to throw the first punch. They're getting close. They're getting there. So we will continue to watch this situation deteriorate and see where that goes. And lastly on this topic, and then we'll go to the other side, for charity as well, for another protest. Lastly on this topic, the trucker, Mr. Gene O'Reilly, says, breaking, Canadian Freedom Convoy are organizing a week-long strike, no one going back to work for the entire week. So even if they do come back out of here, even if they do get kicked out, even if they do get tear-gassed out of the area, they're not going to drive for a week. Further straining the supply chain. So that's what we see coming off of that. Let's grab one from the other side here. From the Daily Wire. Amazon kicks Black Lives Matter off its charity platform. Amazon Smile. From Tim Meads. Amazon has officially kicked BLM off its charity platform Amazon Smile after the company said the progressive organization has failed to live up to its standards as a charity in good standing after the group has come under fire in recent weeks for failing to properly disclose how it's spending millions of dollars donated from individuals, groups, and corporations. The Washington Examiner first reported the story on Wednesday, stating that the online consumer and retailer conglomerate removed BLM as one of the eligible charities under its Amazon Smile program. Amazon Smile allows users to donate a portion of their money spent on Amazon to a charity of their choice, as explained by Business Insider. However, as reported by Washington Examiner, Black Lives Matter recently fell out of compliance with several states. BLM voluntarily shut down its online fundraising February 2nd after California and Washington issued legal threats to the group for its failure to report what it did with the millions it received during the second half of 2020. BLM published a report on February of 2021 claiming to have ended 2020 with $60 million in its coffers. As of Wednesday afternoon, BLM remains out of compliance in those states, as well as in New Jersey, North Carolina, Connecticut, Colorado, Maryland, Maine, and Virginia. BLM said when it shut down its fundraising that it had engaged in a compliance council to get back in good standing with those states. This has nothing to do with their standing in the states. This actually has nothing to do with Amazon either, because I know that come tomorrow we're going to see a bunch of calls to go back and boycott Amazon because they did the evil thing and they're terrible and they're bad to look at what they did to Black Lives Matter. Jeff Bezos probably doesn't think that Black Lives Matter. Oh my God. But there's something else going on here that you've got to look at in the background. Look at what's happening with pinko pox mandates right now. Look at what's happening with vaccine mandates. The strictest counties in this country right now are relaxing their vaccine mandates. The strictest and most liberal counties that we've had in this country for a very long time are backing off of their mandates because they're wildly unpopular. And, by the way, it's an election year. The mask mandates, the vaccine mandates are wildly unpopular in an election year, and there is no way that they're going to stand. And in fact, with the Ermagerd variant burning itself out, that's probably going to be the main factor of Biden's State of the Union speech coming up on March 1st, which, by the way, is going to be streamed and commented on this channel. I'm looking for someone to sit by my side to do that. KTZed, of course, has first dibs on that, but I'm looking for somebody to sit down at my side and come back and watch the State of the Union with me. One person. We can't do a bunch of people for this. One person. But to see what it is that Biden's going to say for the State of the Union address. But with that being said, noting what we have noted here and everything else that goes along with this, it's a thing. It's something that we have to look at and see what goes on with this and where this goes. The reason that I'm saying this right now is very simple. BLM cannot be allowed to take off this year. They cannot be allowed to destroy property. They cannot be allowed to protest. And we're already seeing inklings that some of the BLM side of this is going to bring out the stories about the black kids being shot by police, so they have an excuse to go out and, well, do the things that BLM does. And Amazon, working in conjunction with the US government, although not on paper, of course, no, they're just doing that of their own free will because these governments put them up out of compliance. Months ago, by the way. No. This is an effort to block their ability to fundraise so they can't come out and organize during an election year that is going to be very, very vulnerable for Democrats. You want to see Democrats get kicked out of office? Like they did under the Tea Party? Let's go start burning down some random city next to a very, very large urban area in otherwise mostly rural Missouri, downstate Illinois. Because you know the ones in the big cities aren't going to be doing shit. And what do we have for a pattern? What is the one pattern you've been able to follow along with BLM as we've gone along with them? As we followed them along since 2014 when they founded. You only seem to hear about them in an even-numbered year. 2014 when they founded. 2016 during the election. 2018. And then, of course, in 2020 with the major St. George riots, hallowed be his name. They only come out in an election year to make Republicans look bad. But now it looks like they're trying to be blocked, trying to be stopped from protesting coming in on this election year. Because it's going to be hard to make your case that Democrats have fixed everything if you have BLM protesters throwing Molotovs through the windows in Columbus, or Pittsburgh, or Boston. I don't think they would do it in Boston. I really don't. Because I think, in spite of the fact that it's very, very Democrat, there would be a lot of angry Irish people that would be coming up and putting them in their place if they tried. But that's what we see coming off of that. I don't think this has anything to do with non-compliance. I think this has everything to do with stopping them from protesting during this election here. All right. Couple more here that we'll get off of this. And then it looks like we are going to... you know what? Let's get up to this Hill article, and then let's do live chat and head out of here for the day. Clay Travis, half of the new Rush Limbaugh show. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Clay Travis tweets out, Twitter said it wouldn't allow the sharing of Hunter Biden laptop story because it was hacked info, yet Twitter is freely allowing the sharing of all the hacked names of the Canadian trucker donors. I'd love to hear an explanation for Twitter on this inconsistency. Really? I know the explanation. Clay Travis continues and says, "It's almost as if they completely make up the rules to benefit left-wing politics." Yeah, see, and that's the thing. And other people trying to call it, "This is terrorism. Is Hunter committing acts of terror?" And neither are the trucker guys, just so you know. They're just kind of sitting there. But no, I mean, this is a clear double standard, and everybody knew this double standard was going to exist from the beginning. It's okay to go put these people up because they're evil Trump supporters. So let's just put their names out there. But, you know, the Hunter story, oh, we can't put that back out there. All right, and Libs of TikTok as well, a mainstay on this program. The Salt Lake Tribune is now using the GiveSendGo hack data to reach out to donors who gave as little as $50. This is harassment. This is not journalism. And this comes to us from... Now, the guy's email looks like it's brian.shot to me, but they blank out the name. So I don't know if this is something that was redone off of this. The thing with this is, I don't know... I would need to find some other verification of this for Libs of TikTok, but I didn't want to touch base on this because, once again, this is another thing. I mean, it's not new. When you get a leak out of this, the reporters try to put these people out there, especially if they're right-wing protesters. The reporters try to put their names out there. So, I mean, we've seen them go up to another... What was the other donation that they did? I think it was a Trump campaign donation, where they walked up to the guy's door and clearly showed his address and the street name on the front of his house. This is all about harassment. No, I think this was a January 6th thing, now that I think about it. It was it was for the legal costs of the January 6th protesters, I think is what it was. But it was down in Santa Fe, and they showed the guy's address clearly on camera, and his street address. But this email comes back out and says, "Hi, blank, I'm a reporter with the Salt Lake Tribune. Your name and email address appeared in a leaked data from GiveSendGo contributions to the Canadian Trucker Convoy. Your name appears to be associated with a $50 donation. Can email or call me to confirm this matches your records. Why did you decide to donate to the campaign? Thanks in advance." Okay, so this is the political correspondent for the Salt Lake Tribune, because that's where the Brian Shot is. So they did blank out the name for that. That's why. I thought this was... Okay, never mind. "I have the honor to be your obedient servant, Brian Shot, political correspondent. Host Utah Politics with Brian Shot." All right. So with that, we'll see what happens with that, and if we start to see a bunch of people with their addresses mysteriously on the front of their houses and showing what their houses look like, who are donating to the naughty, naughty list. Let's grab one from the Hill, and then let's do live chat and head out of here. Some more crypto stuff. From Rebecca Klaar, FBI to form new cryptocurrency unit. The FBI is forming a new team dedicated to cryptocurrency, according to the Department of Justice. The new team will work closely with the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team, the DOJ announced on Thursday. Professor Yoon-Young Choi, who has a background in cyber-related crimes, will serve as the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team's first director. The department has... Did you talk to me, Marie? I'm the media. The department has been at the forefront of investigating and persecuting crimes involving digital currency. Since their inception, Choi said in a statement, the NCET will play a pivotal role in ensuring that as the technology surrounding digital assets grows and evolves, the department will in turn accelerate and expand its efforts to combat their illicit abuse by criminals of all kinds. I'm excited to lead the NCET's incredible and talented team of attorneys and get back to work on this important priority for the department. Choi begins her duties full-time on Thursday. The Crypto Enforcement Team will focus on challenges posed by the criminal misuse of crypto and digital assets. The team will also be comprised of attorneys from across the department, including prosecutors with backgrounds in crypto, cybercrime, money laundering, and forfeiture. The team will work in collaboration with others across the department, including the new, FBI, new team dedicated to crypto. The FBI's Virtual Asset Exploitation Unit will be made up of crypto experts that help provide analysis, support, and training across the FBI. The team will also innovate its cryptocurrency tools to stay ahead of the future threats, according to the department. Why, oh why? Please tell me, why, oh why, did they have such a concern with what you're doing with your cryptocurrency? Unless, A, they want to tax the shit out of you, B, they want to get involved in it, even more than they already are, or C, they're just that clueless about where this goes. And while I'd like to believe on C, I look at Bitcoin especially, and I got in an argument with this over this yesterday. I look at Bitcoin especially, and I think Bitcoin glows. I really do. And somebody came up and said, well, they can watch it all they want. Why do you think it glows? They still can't do anything about it. Are you fucking sure? It was created by a hacker, so of course there's going to be backdoors. Really? Because nobody seems to know who actually created this. It just kind of showed up, and it was an anonymous person that did it. An anonymous hacker that did it. And all of a sudden, a lot of government-associated people, or people who want to be associated with government stuff, are touting it, while the government proper touts as evil. People like Joe Jorgensen and Brad Palumbo. The only way you can be libertarian is to give up your US currency and go straight to Bitcoin. That's great, Brad. I have no place to spend my Bitcoin. But I can spend the US currency as much as I don't want to. I can spend that. I can use that to turn into ammunition or gold or food. It's not my first choice, but it's there. But there's what they're going to do. They're going to go back and see what you're doing with your Bitcoin. And we will see what happens with that and where that goes. And with that, we're going to step aside for the day. We will use the last few articles here to round out our Monday show. But before we do that, we're going to take some time and say thank you to our live chatters, both today and throughout the week. So we'll come back out to the top here. Looks like we've got a few messages. Ron Helton with the sticker party. Wolf with the Apu sticker. Ron Helton says, well, of course, the person who reported it did it. Yeah, we won't get to that story, unfortunately, today, because we're out of time. And I still have to run back out and go to work, even though I should probably be going into work late today, given, well, I won't talk about what's going on at work here, but before we do anything, we've got to take some time and say thank you to the people in the live chat of the past week. On Monday, we had Quest Banning. Son of a Candace Bear was here on Monday. Sully Blue was here. MK Ultra, KTZed, Ron Helton, Harvey McLeod joined us. Linda Cloud as well, and Arvold. Two people named Cloud right in a row. McCloud and McLeod and Arvold. On Tuesday, we had Sully Blue, Random Randy, or Randy Crush Saga as he's now known, Vampire Hunter D, Chilaga 1984, Quest Fanning, Housetope, Chaos Soul, Goldilock. We had a friend from over on the Netherlands came back and joined us because I follow her. We'll probably go back and raid her afterwards if you're over on the Twitch side, of course, and KTZed as well. Wednesday was a little bit of a slow day in the chat, but everybody still matters. Of course, Ron Helton, Sully Blue, Arbolt, ASXJ996, who wasn't quite appreciative of what we were doing here, but that's fine. He told us that crypto is going to zero. Randy Crush Saga, Marie Maybe Golay, and Chilaga 1984. Yesterday, Ron Helton, Sully Blue, Random Randy, or Randy Crush Saga, MK Ulmo, not MK Ultra anymore, MK Ulmo, Quest Fanning, Marie Maybe Golay, Chilaga 1984, Elephant Man, and Arvold. Today. And remember, if you are sufficiently spicy, or bigoted, or hateful, or even just sufficiently stupid, you'll get read up on the show because that will raise the intellectual level of this program. Today, Ron Helton says, Jorgensen is a nut. She's our savior, Ron Helton. How dare you? Ron Helton says, nuclear drills. Jeepers. Impeach Harris and Biden before they get us all nuked. Wolf336 with the Corona USA sticker. And the Alex Jones sticker as well. Ron says Ukrainian separatists. Marie says CGI Federal. Wolf says that was fake because there were no burn marks. Let's go look at that again. I guess I wouldn't see where there would be burn marks if it got hit from a distance. Because that's what it sounds like it's doing, is they're popping it from a distance. Now, if it was up close to the... It was up close to the artillery, it probably would have a burn mark for that, but... Okay, I can see that. I can see where you're coming from, and again, this is another one of those things where I do want to see this as fake because of everything that, how convenient this is, that you can take this to distract from your insane inflation numbers, your high gas prices, and your mediocre, if not low, job reports. Ron says Lloyd is an incompetent boob. Sully Blue is here. Morning cunts. Ron's getting one chilly day of the week and then back to the 60s. We had that yesterday, but we're only going back up to the 30s. Sully says, I miss snow. It never bothered me. I love the snow. Ron Helton says, it all ends with a boom. I hope that when the fallout comes and the nuclear weapons hit, I get ghoulified. And I can wander around forever. Because I'll be immortal and healed by radiation, say, okay, smooth skin. You want to buy these bullets from me? That'll be 30 caps. Fanning is here. He went to bed at like 3:30 a.m. after a great conversation with some friends. Good job. Ron says, I'm sure she would visit the southern border on Taco Tuesday. Ron watched Final Countdown in the Philadelphia Experiment last night until like 4. Neither of which I've ever seen, by the way. Ron says, these damn idiots in the Senate want a war. This sucks. Ukrainian hookers, no doubt. Haha. Nice. Sully says, yeah, the amount of times I've had to scrape ice on my window, I can probably count on one hand. I don't do a lot of scraping. But I buy Fords, and they get warm really quick. So, I usually don't have to. Even in Oregon, hand shoveling a driveway on 20 acres, I'd still take the snow any day on the mountains, and you can have the beaches. Ron Helton says what we're all thinking, and Marie echoes the sentiment. Good grief, Biden is a dick. Let's listen to that again, just for fun. Because it was kind of a slow chat day too. So let's do that again for fun.
Got much better since then. I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, there's a dead dog on my lawn. And I said, yes, ma'am.
There's a dead dog on my lawn.
She said, yes, they're not here. And I said, well, I'll get him in the morning. She said, I want it removed now. I pay your salary. So I went over. I picked it up. She said, I want it out of my front yard. I put it on her doorstep. But I've got much better since then.
I picked it up. I put it on her doorstep, man. Most popular president in history, 80 million votes, 10 scoops of ice cream. Chilaga 1984 is here. Must be a laugh track, says Ron Helton. You know he made this up, Corn Pop. I bet you Ron Clayton wrote that for him. MK Ultra says Taco Bell for breakfast. Jealous, by the way. Sounds really good right now. That actually might happen. That sounds really good right now. Holy shit. And my blender bottle is dirty. Shit. MK, you might have inspired me. That actually might happen. I could go for a sausage crunch wrap right now. And some Cinnabon bites. Ooh. Well, we'll be making that decision in a couple minutes. I love Taco Bell breakfast. McDonald's breakfast, which I also enjoy, is here. Taco Bell breakfast is like here. Ron Helton says, let's go, Brandon! The judge insisting that Trump testifies is just bully politics. Yes, probably. I wonder if there are D's next to their names. Well, it's Manhattan, so probably. Marie says civil, peaceful enjoyment of property, creating new boomers daily. Perhaps a psyop where one of the neighborhood people lose it and start tossing Molotov cocktails. Yeah, outside of the fence. Maurice, no, I can't read that one. Oh. I say sufficiently bigoted, stupid, and racist, but I can't do that one. That one, no. That's a good one. Don't get me wrong, Murray, but I can't do that one. Susan is watching. Sully says, well, I can't be racist. Ordered a black Ram emblem on Amazon last week, just here before the accusations. I should get a black Ford emblem for the front of my truck. Because the guy that had it before me, it's got the chrome package on, so it's supposed to have the nice bright chrome grille. But the guy that had it before me blacked out the rims and blacked out the grille. But it's still got the big blue oval on there. I should put a black oval on there. I think that'd be cool as fuck. Let's see. Ron says all lives matter or none do. Vote damn out. Quest reminded us that last year, during the last Biden State of the Union, it was him and me talking about that. Which, yes, that was a good time. But I also, like the year before under Trump, that was when I realized we can only really have one. There can only be two people discussing it, because I've tried to do it with Britt and Steven, and I think Behavior. Well, I know it was Behavior, but it was just, there was so much conversation going on with that, with four people sitting on here talking about this, and I'm like, no, we need to do this with just one person. One other person. Quest Fanning says, good guys versus bad guys. Only apply the rules to the bad guys. Obedient servant, says Ron Helton, Parasite. All over $50. Yeah, and I think the one where they showed, it was the firefighter or whatever that had donated, and I swear it was the legal defense for the selfie fest. The one where they showed that guy too, that was a ridiculously low amount if I remember correctly as well. I think that was like 20 or $50. Marie says, never talk to the media. Well, talking to the media. Now I get what you said. Quest says, great. Anytime that confuses them will be considered a violation, probably. I knew as soon as I hit send, I'm at MSM. Yeah, I got you. The bricks would be broken into bits, not whole. And Sully will get the last comment of the day and say, my family still rags on me for wanting Taco Bell for my first meal after deployment. And that will be it for the day. Let's head out of here. Good show, you guys. Thank you. Good week. A little bit of a slow week, but a very dedicated week. The dedicated fan base is here. Now we got to grow them. We got to get 1,000 people watching per stream. 1,500, 2,000. We got to get more people coming back in for this here. But that'll take time. And this is a really early show too, so we miss out on the entire West Coast audience. Because when I get started, it's like 5:30 in the morning over there. But let's get out of here. Let's finish up. Where's the outro music? Not there. And let's also see if there's somebody. A Gaines actually gave 100 bits too 18 minutes ago. Thank you, A Gaines. Thank you. Because With this screen here, I don't get to see the biddies here, and usually I've got the music on for the monitor. So thank you, A Gains, by the way. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's amazing. All right, I just came over here to raid and I saw that, so that rocks. Where's the outro music that I promised? There it is. So, thank you everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat throughout the week, throughout the day, and throughout all the time we've been a channel. We're going on 2 years right now, you guys. It's getting there. I think it's sometime next month we'll hit the 2-year mark for Contemporary, which is... No, I know it's going to be next month because I started in March. It was like the first week of March. So we'll get the exact day. We'll go back and look at the anniversary and see what's going on for this. This is a great time. I love what you guys do here. I love what happens here, you guys. And I love coming out and reading the news for you guys every morning. Or letting somebody else come back and read the news for you guys in the morning, too. That's such an awesome time for you guys. And, you know, we get to talk about this, and it's a better morning commute than listening to whatever's on your terrestrial radio. And, you know, you get to comment back, but don't do it while you're driving, please. We'll be back here on Monday for sure with more Contemporary, more news headlines, and Monday night for KTZed Redemption, discussion of the major topics of the news. I know we're going to be talking about the Ukraine. That's going to be the big one here because this is turning into an all-out military thing, so we will see what's happening with that. Otherwise, I will also probably, because sinus infection, I don't want to go to my mom and dad's. I don't really have any other plans going on this weekend, so a little bit of a sinus infection. I think I'm going to stick around, and if I'm going to stick around, we're going to play video games. We'll do some Fallout 4 this weekend, so come back and join us for that. Otherwise, we will see you the next time we are here. Hope to see you guys then, and until then, oh, and by the way, remember, video games are YouTube denied. I don't put those on YouTube because of the radios and the copyright and everything off the YouTube stream, so that will only be on Twitch and DLive, so come back and join us for that. Times to be announced. Watch the Twitter for that, or just watch your newsfeed for that as well. We will see you next time, and until then, I'm Jay Edgar. Stick around if you're on Twitch. We are going raiding right now. Take care, everyone.